Good morning and welcome to the National Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Known. Is your wealth plan a thing of the past or is it focused on the future? Interesting question we'll discuss with Tonya Evans, a financial futurist and professor at Penn State Dickinson Law School, who created and directed the prestigious school's blockchain, cryptocurrency, and law online professional certificate program. Also, this morning, California economists just yesterday have put the number for reparations for Black residents at $8 billion, and the committee is considering that ahead of a July 1st deadline. We will discuss. And Bernie Mac, the true king of comedy, we're going to hear from Bernie Mac again 15 years after his death. A posthumous album will commemorate Bernie Mac's career. We'll talk about that, and we'll throw some Whitney Houston in there as well as what her family is doing, the new music from Whitney Houston. But first, an education savings program has boosted the college dreams of young students in a mostly Black school district in New York. We talk about all of this with Auntie Nakia. Nakia Cooper, Bayou Beat. How you doing? Nakia always comes
Thursday
on
morning.
mute, all excited, and then yet on mute.
No, I'm not on mute. Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you. I like to catch that beginning when you're like, oh, yeah, absolutely.
Happy Thursday morning, right? Happy Thursday morning. Thank you for having me on.
Just short of Friday.
I know, Friday Eve.
So I'm looking forward to this Friday for some reason. I'm trying to figure out why am I looking forward to this Friday, and I haven't figured it out yet.
I just can't believe that the year is passing by so fast. We just celebrated, right? Christmas, New Year's, and it's almost Easter, right? Just like just one day after the next, we're just whizzing by.
Yeah, well, it's the last day of the month tomorrow. And that
Mhm.
means the kids do all their not just kids though, others they do their first of the month memes on TikTok. It's the
Oh
first of the
yeah,
month.
and tomorrow is just got paid
Uh-oh. Who's getting
Friday.
paid tomorrow?
I hope I am.
Okay. Well, that's right. That's right. And have a drink.
That's right.
This morning, an educational savings program has boosted the college dreams of young students in a mostly Black school district in New York City. Last December, the New York City Kids Rise Save for College program opened college savings plans for 1,200 students in East Flatbush and Canarsie in Brooklyn School District 18, where 86% of the students there are Black. The program helps families understand the importance of savings and how putting aside a little money at a time can make a difference, build wealth, and lead to financial independence. The program, the Kia, relies on families to continue savings through avenues that include community partnerships. The Kia, so we're not hating on this program, right?
No, I'm loving it. I want to see how it, what how does it work? Is the community putting the money in? Are they doing putting money in through sweat equity, or are they having to contribute their own money? Is it contribute, or is it a mixture of both?
So New York City had a college savings program before, and I don't know why. I probably got something here. I don't know where it's at. So my two oldest, I started like when, so my oldest is 29, and then uh, well, he's not my second oldest, but my son is 22. So some 20 years ago, I started those programs. I started paying into those programs. Got my most recent statement. You know how much is in there?
Uh,
$3.18.
see, you needed a rise program. This is not.
Yeah, it's called the New York College Savings Program, and it was from Albany, from the state. Being in it was administered by the state, and I'm like, they send me these statements. It's like $3.18 in each of those accounts.
Wow.
Where did the money go? So this
What
better be a better program.
for to tell us what that is. That is something. Right now I have a 16-year-old and I have an 18-year-old son. And my 18-year-old is, we just did this fascinating thing that I'll send you later, but we did a little mini documentary, on his journey. He was one of the high school athletes that was caught up in the wave of COVID. And so he's a basketball player, and he lost some playing time, and so I sent him to prep school, and now we're in going the JUCO route, right? But you know,
Hmm.
there's a tricky thing that to not start that eligibility clock, right? We're paying. He's going part time, and so guess what? I'm paying out of pocket for
Mm.
his college classes, because if I start him full time, right? If I start him full time, that clock starts, and I'm trying to give him some time. But if you're under full time hours, you don't get the Pell Grants. I'm paying out of pockets. I don't get scholarship. I mean, I can't get anything because he's not a full time student.
Mm.
So when I just get paid, Friday night tomorrow, all of that, I'm caught up in this system where I'm paying out of pocket for every class, and it's costing me like $700 per every 3 hours that I can afford to give him.
So this program in New York, this Kids Rise program, Save for College, is it's asset building through opportunity that helps children and their families believe in the dream of attending college and furthering their careers. The New York City Kids Rise have received $1.2 million in grant from the Bloomberg Philanthropies, Greenwood Initiative, and the Brooklyn Community Foundation to fund the New York Five. It's called the New York 529 Direct Plan, or college savings plan. With the money, the RISE program placed $1,000 in each of the 1,200 accounts. So that's a start for sure.
That's a
And Power 96, I think I'm gonna ignore you this morning. He says $3. Somebody done messed up the church's money.
I agree with Power 96.
But and that highlights, and this is what a great program though. They started with $1,000, and these kids, and it's PS 276. So this is an elementary school, and so to start that early with $1,000, so you feed it. You got to feed it, right? I
Mhm.
mean, they got a long way to go, but as we know, time flies. So if
Mhm.
you can put something in there on a regular basis, by the time they get to college age, you may have a nice, healthy sum.
You do, but you know what? I have to say this, and I say this because early on in my career, when my children were younger, I always tried to start something. I always tried to start a savings plan and a savings account. And then the next thing you know, I'd lose that account. They shut my account down on me because they would say that I would be using that account like it was a checking account, right? Because at this time I was with one of the larger bankers, and you couldn't make about 6 transactions a month from your savings account because then you're now using it like a checking account. Well, the 6 transactions I would be using all the time is I'd put money in and then I'd have to take it out. And then I was
Mm.
just like, I'm broke. I can't afford a savings plan.
But
So I
it's so that's part. But isn't that part of the problem that we experience, is particularly in our community? You do have, other communities seem to have what they call a nest egg. We don't even know how to spell nest egg, let alone have a
Mm.
nest egg. Because the moment something, and it's always something, the moment something goes wrong, we're going into that account.
We're going into that account. And so I'm assuming that this account that they have, that the people, you can't make any withdrawals out of it. You can only just probably build in, add to it. But then you have to be realistic. How many people with certain situations will add to it? That $1,000 probably will sit there for years and years and years and draw whatever little interest it'll draw
Mhm.
for those students. So that's why it's like, who's going to continue to feed that account? Because sometimes if the parents are in an underserved community, if the parents don't have a job, if the parents, are struggling every day, just like we saw that it was just Christmas and now we're going into Easter already.
Well,
Think of all
yeah,
those
it's
months. They
time
don't have money
flies.
to put into these accounts. I don't want to be the Debbie Downer. I'm just a person I've seen the struggle.
Well,
I know
and
the struggle spelled forwards and backwards, and I just never could get it together.
yeah, and it helps to underscore for me anyway the importance of programs like what we've been here at NMPA along with GM has been promoting, the Discover the Unexpected Scholarship Program, a fellowship program, I should say, that where students are able to apply. They have until April 7th to apply. they can spend the summer with the Black newspaper and with General Motors,
Love
and
it.
they'll get a $10,000 scholarship, an $8,000 stipend, and a world of experience. Um, these programs, we were recently at the Disney Dreamers Academy and
Yes.
saw those 100 students flourish and shine, and they will continue to do that. There's no question. We got a nice email from this young man who we met at the Disney Dreamers Academy, and some might already know the name, but no, you're gonna know this kid's name, Bradley Ross Jackson. OMG, look him up. He's already doing some things out in Chicago, but look him up. This kid
You
is
had an article about him on NMPA, right?
Bradley Ross. Do we have an article? No, we have it's someone else that we did the article on,
Okay,
but
I saw the Disney Dreamers article.
yeah, but Bradley is included in one of the other articles, but
Yep.
um, Bradley stands out on his own. Bradley is the epitome. They should always bring Bradley back every year for Disney Dreamers, and he's like one day he's going to be the celebrity ambassador there. There's no question
Yep.
about it.
I think that the way this program is going to work, and I think that like with the savings plan and everything, it's like, so it is about teaching the financial wellness to the students directly,
Mhm.
because like right now, sometimes teaching it to the parents, years later, now we're so in our head, we're already, struggling. Like sometimes it's hard to change, our way of thoughts, and we're worried about the day to day, right? The kids right now, they can dream big. And
Dream
so
big.
when they teach it to them in the financial health in school, in grade school, and show them this is what you have in your account today, this is what we can do to build it, this is what we're going to do every summer, and this is where you're going to be. Just like how little kids get those hoop dreams, early on in life, and they get those dreams to be a veterinarian, dreams to be this and then dreams to be a doctor. Now it's going to be that you have your college dream, which is hopefully your HBCU dream, and showing them how this is how we're going to make it. And they get to build into that nest egg that they said we're not touching this. This is something that we're going to do. And I know, just like here in Houston, we just launched our another year of the Higher Houston Youth Program,
Hmm.
and they showed the statistics of most kids will not be involved in any kind of summer crime because they're going to work, and that's
And
something.
we saw that in Washington, D.C., under the late mayor for life, Marion Barry, when he started the summer program. It's still like the biggest, one of his biggest legacies, because kids, they didn't have time to get involved in any mischief. Young ones, I should say. Uh, and those summer youth programs, I can never get a summer job. I
Mhm.
could. All my brothers would come. They get. I think the paper was like blue. Come in. You knew what it was. Like you've been accepted, and I never got any mail. So I would like ask like friends, like, could you just at least write me something and put it on blue paper, make me think I got a summer job.
I
But
think
I would
every
go and
responsible
deliver
business,
newspapers.
yeah, every responsible business owner needs to commit to hire a young person this summer. And if go find one, reach out to the schools, reach out to the churches, go to the churches, get up and give you, when they say anybody have any, acknowledgments or announcements, get up and say, let me hire one of these students, give them something to dream about. So when they see that check first, they get excited, and then they'll say, what is this number, when they realize about taxes? But they
Yep.
get a chance to help out in the house, or just to save for that pair of tennis shoes, right? That those new clothes, and invest into start a bank account to invest into their college future, their
Well,
future.
Dr. Nicole reminds us that many can get Pell Grants for less than full-time enrollment, but apparently just not at certain income levels.
Yeah,
David Youngblood says they have a clearinghouse where you can apply for hundreds of scholarships at the same time. And then David follows that up with, the problem is we require, and this is like, this is drop the mic time.
come
We
on with it.
require children to pay for their education so we can retire on their debt. That is the bottom line. But kudos to what they're doing in my hometown in New York. And hopefully it works out. Hopefully the parents and students alike, and those who are like Bloomberg and others who are putting into this program, will stay committed to it.
I love.
Nakia, posthumous music, posthumous uh, albums and things like that has become the norm. At least I didn't really notice it. Of course, when Elvis died, there was some greatest hit stuff and things like that. So even back then, it was kind of. And then, of course, we started to get the great ones die, Michael and Prince um,
Mm,
and others die, and so you get, they put out this unreleased music before, and
exactly.
now comes the king of comedy himself, the late great Bernie Mac, who will have some never before heard stand up uh, on the way. The special album will air exclusively on Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio on Sirius XM next month. The news of Bernie Mac's new comedy album comes as Hart's entertainment company Heartbeat announced its extended relationship with Sirius XM in a new multi-year deal. The album titled Bernie Mac: Tapes from a King will be comprised of a remastered collection of audio from videotapes Mac would watch to refine his comedy sets. Um, Bernie Mac was
For it.
absolutely one of a kind. Yeah, his predecessors, of course, include people, the great ones, Richard Pryor and of course Eddie, a contemporary. He was absolutely. It's unfortunate. Like he died at 50. If many might remember Robin Harris, who died of a heart attack, he was only in his 30s.
Mm,
Um, and Robin Harris, Bernie Mac reminded me a lot of Robin Harris.
mm.
And he's one of those guys, right? If you've seen the Bernie Mac, so just looking at him makes you laugh.
Yeah,
It's so,
facial expressions were something else. He is one of a kind. I
yeah,
can't believe when you said in the opening when you said it's been 15 years.
yeah, 15 years. Bernie Mac died in 2008. Yeah, it
It
seems like yesterday.
seems like yesterday, and I think the great thing is that we still get to see him and the syndicated, the when we get still see this Bernie Mac show, but
Mm.
15 years.
He it's so funny because watching his show, he got a son there. He be yelling at there his sister's kid, of course. But he was raising the three kids there, Jordan and my kids get on me because my son, there's a lot of times where I was just like Bernie, Jordan.
Hmm.
It's like, but yeah, 15 years, and so let me ask you, Nakia, these posthumous albums mentioned like Michael and Prince and others now comes, what do you think of them? Because now comes word, and as you mentioned pre-show, Whitney Houston, her family is putting out a posthumous gospel album.
Yes. So when it comes to cases like Bernie Mac, so this is something that's like it's long overdue. We would love to, hear from him again, see him. It's great that Kevin Hart is honoring him in this way. I have nothing to say about that. When it comes to Whitney Houston, and I give the utmost praise and respect to her mother, Sissy Houston. I think that with the Whitney Houston, they just announced that, and I saw it just yesterday, that they're going to have this gospel album and it's going to include recordings from when she was 17 years old. Her brother Gary and his wife or her sister-in-law Pat are saying they feel that the family has mourned and this is a great time to release it. They said just in time for Easter and ahead of her 60th birthday, which is in August. They flooded. I don't know who. I can't tell you which people did what movie, but we are on Whitney Houston overload with all of the different versions of these Lifetime movies, the different biopics, the different documentaries, everybody else telling their point of view. Where is all this coming from? Um, there are so many different actresses playing Whitney Houston. None of them have really just nailed it, except I did think Yaya did a good job in hers. But every time you turn around, every singer is get sharper than their Whitney Houston voice. It's a little bit too much for me. And
Mhm.
I'm almost saying, y'all need to stop. Just let her rest in peace. And is this, I don't know,
Yeah.
the person controlling the estate, as they said, it was Miss Pat. Is it enough?
Well,
Is it enough?
so let me jump in on that. The only so I'm kind of with you on the Whitney Houston thing, and here's why: there's no heirs there. She has no heirs.
Yeah.
Um, so everybody else is making money off of her.
Yeah.
If her heirs, if she had, if Bobby Christina was still alive, I wouldn't have a problem with it.
I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Um, but everybody else is making money off her, and it's, I have a problem with it, but I understand it. There's money to be made. They're gonna make the money. Rich people, if we're talking about rich people, they only
Oh,
want to get richer. Just like people like us, we
okay.
wanna we want to make money. We want to be able to take care of our not just our needs but our wants. But when folks are wealthy, you don't see them sitting
Okay.
on the side. Look, they're about to sell the Washington Commanders football team for $6 billion in a group that includes Magic Johnson, right? Um, Magic Johnson can his great grandkids don't have to work if he doesn't want them to, right?
Right.
Um, but he making money. He's still gonna be making money, right? The Jackson estate. Now, in their case, not only did Michael have heirs, but he also left about a country's worth of debt,
That's
right? When he died.
uh-huh.
So they had no choice in
Yeah.
his case, right? And now they've made a couple of $1 billion since he's dead, right? He's about 2 billion in the black. And you say when is it? And the other part of it, I'll say this: like when we talk about posthumous albums, now this thing with Bernie Mac, from what is I'm understanding, these are things that from rehearsals and things like that,
Yeah.
right? But when it comes to these Whitney and Michael and Prince, um, and these like B-sides or records that didn't make the cut. And so my position on that is y'all are releasing this stuff knowing good and well the artist himself
Would not have
would
released it.
not have released
They
it.
would. That's what
They
I was
wouldn't even
gonna
make the
say.
cut.
Yeah. Because remember, what I've heard, and that directly, is that Michael Jackson was a perfectionist. If something wasn't right, he wasn't going to put that out. Is that the way that something that's
Right.
not the way he wanted to be remembered?
Yeah, you remember
Yeah.
that first time, that
Yeah.
first song, and they made a commercial out of it. There was this huge controversy. Even some of his family was like, "That's not him. That's not him." You know why it wasn't him? It was him, but it wasn't him. It wasn't. It was his voice. Yes, indeed, it was his stuff. But it was like one of those things. He said, "You know what? I'm not putting this out there. This ain't me. I'm the king of
Yeah.
pop."
Yeah.
And so you're getting second rate, third rate. You're getting
Yeah.
throwaway stuff.
Yeah. You're not allowing us. You're tainting our memories. That's what I really think.
And there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. And so it becomes, hey y'all, it's not about y'all. It's not about us, right? It's taking our memory, but who cares? It's bringing in money. I mean, you can't go anywhere without seeing Michael Jackson, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's an interesting conversation. I wish we had more time to spend on this kind of conversation. But just a side note, though, speaking of posthumous stuff, soon we hope to bring you some a great discussion with the filmmakers on this Little Richard documentary.
Okay.
Um, Greer and I watched the documentary, and I got to tell you, I was so surprised at this documentary. I was pleasantly surprised at what I found in this documentary. It's about an hour and 45 minutes long. Um, it's supposed to come out, I believe. Notice I said posed to come out and not supposed. it's,
Mhm.
it's supposed to come out, I believe, next month, but we'll get some more details and we'll bring that to you, let it be known. But real quick, Nakia, and this is something I really don't want to spend a lot of time on either,
Okay.
because it's one of those things where either you're going to do it or you're not going to do it. California economists say that the state could pay more than $800 billion in reparations to Black residents for generations of housing discrimination, disproportionate incarceration, and over policing. So they're putting a number on it right now. $800 billion. Now remember, this is not for reparations for the slave trade. This is for reparation because California didn't have this, didn't sanction slavery.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay. You said that you didn't want to spend a lot of
not a
time on
lot of
it.
time.
We don't
Got a
have.
couple of minutes.
Guess what? It ain't gonna happen.
Just like that, right?
They promised us this. You've been on Black people for a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
It ain't gonna happen. It's a nice headline.
Mm-hmm. It's a nice headline.
It's a nice headline. Oh,
Yeah.
go California. We are rooting for you, and please, please help us out here in Texas too. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee has been trying to get us reparations for a very long time. And she's championing that and everything. It just ain't gonna happen.
Well, the thing is, you mentioned Sheila Jackson Lee. By the way, I don't know if many know, but she is actually running for mayor of Houston.
Oh yes, she is, and people
Um,
are very afraid.
but her bill,
Mhm,
her reparations bill, HR 40, is only to start the discussion.
mhm.
It's to bring a committee
Yeah.
together. And so California, both in the state and the city of San Francisco, is way ahead of that, right?
Mhm.
San Francisco, they're talking about 5 million per Black resident.
They're not.
Um,
They're not going to do that. You know that it would be great, but they're not. I do want to clean this up. When I said people should be very afraid, I mean the other people who are running for mayor should be very
oh
afraid.
yeah, oh yeah.
She got it when she got into this race. She just shook it up, I believe. But
Hmm.
reparations, we know that we're old, right? We know this.
We
We
know.
know this, and everyone does. Everyone does. Think about all of the land that they've stolen from us and from our ancestors. Think about them just paying that family, giving them the money back for that, giving them back the beach that they, stole from that Black family and all of that, and reselling us our property. It's so much you owe. It's so
Yeah,
much you robbed, right?
yeah,
And then they want to say we're going to do it, but then they don't. And you continue to you can keep putting out these bills that are going to go. It looks good.
hmm.
It looks good on paper,
Well,
but
and again, and as David Youngblood highlights, the HR 40 is a study. She wants a study
Mhm.
for reparations, but we obviously will be getting into that some more too, Nakia. But is your wealth plan a thing of the past, or is it focused on the future? Well, let's bring on Tonya Evans, a financial futurist, consultant, and professor at Penn State Dickinson Law School. Good morning, Tonya Evans.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Good to see you. First and foremost, what is a financial futurist consultant?
It's a great title, right? I'm an IP lawyer, so I love a good title. I wanted to capture the way that I think that that I myself personally, with my family and within the community, should start to think more toward the future of what we want to build and then work backwards in order to put the systems and the processes into place to get there. I feel like we always have to have a vision and hold the vision. And so often we are looking backwards or even in the present, and all of those spaces and places are energy and they're important, but we really have to focus on the future. So I like the title Financial Freedom Futurist, actually. And I spent a lot of my consulting time focused on getting people ready so that we can stay ready so that we don't have to get ready in the future because the future absolutely is right now.
Yeah, I heard a presentation of yours where you asked, "Is your wealth plan, is it a thing of the past, or is it focused on the future?" Talk about that and briefly break down the meaning, the thought behind that question.
Yeah, well, when I think about how I was raised, and I was having this conversation with my parents as well. My father is a surgeon, my mother is an attorney. They did extremely well in their generation, and there were high expectations for me, certainly. But some of the lessons that they taught me was based on their own understanding of how we build wealth. And that was certainly get a great education. That's always number one. It was to get that good government job, whatever that meant for sure. And then once you had that job, that could allow you to access retirement benefits. You're certainly going to build a home. You're probably going to get some insurance, term or whole life. That was a whole discussion in Black families for sure. And then, of course, the burial plot, and you have made it. You become a high net worth individual. The problem with that is high income earners are still taxed at a higher rate than capital assets. And I started to think so much about what it means to trade our time for money, what
Mm,
it means to be an employee who is creating extraordinary value within a system that we don't own. And so it's not enough just to have W 2 income. We have to focus on the future of what it means to create assets and invest in assets that are actually out there working harder than we are. If
mm.
I'm working harder than my money, I'm doing something terribly wrong. So that's when I think about historically how we focused on traditional forms of wealth. And I love real estate. I love stocks, even in this market, but we have to be more strategic about what future assets look like in this new digital economy.
Well, we also, well, let me throw it over to Nakia first before I go on.
Okay, because so I'm someone, and hi, good morning, and I'm
Good
very
morning.
excited to, for you to be here and to talk because I'm someone so I have a W-2 job. And I'm honest. I want to break up with my 9 to 5.
I
It's
understand.
not the best
It's
voice.
just you and me talking right now. It's just you and me. It's fine.
I want to break up with my 9 to 5, right? We hear these things that say, oh, you need to become a small business owner. You need to do this and that, right? So I have my 9 to 5, but then I also have my community newspaper that I'm just so proud. I'm very proud to launch. And then I do I am side hustle
Come
university
on.
person, okay? But I don't know what to do with the money that I have accumulated.
Mm,
I'm scared to invest in someone because I just got, I'm not quite the Jeffersons yet. I'm thinking a little bit, I hate to be funny, I'm comedy when I don't know much. I'm not quite wheezy, right?
mm-hmm.
I don't have a George.
Right. So there's that.
And I do not know what to do and who to trust.
Mm-hmm.
Every bank says, come sit with our banker. But then when people say, put money in CDs, put this and that, but then I think, but then you're going to lock it up. And if I need it, then I got to pay.
Mm,
I don't know what to do.
yeah.
I'm afraid to lose what little dollar I just got by investing in the stock market. I don't understand, and don't get me started on cryptocurrency. I cannot
Right.
understand anything about digital money because I'm just like, what does that mean? Is this real? I
Right.
don't
Right.
know what to do. Tonya, what do I do? I don't know who to turn to. And then you say, "Oh, I just don't know. I'm sorry." I'm like, and I'm pretty sure I'm like a lot of people out there. I hope I'm not the
Absolutely.
only crazy person out there. Somebody throw me a sign. But
No,
I don't
that
know
is
what to
extreme.
do.
That
I just got $1. How do I
understand.
keep it? I'm scared to say
Understand.
yes.
And it's not just you. It's absolutely not just you. So I want to affirm that understanding. I want to just
Okay.
consider the possibility that when we have the mindset of loss and fear, if
Okay.
fear is motivating our decisions, even if it's the next right step, if fear is the motivation, we've already lost. And the reason that I say that and ask us to consider it is when your money is sitting in a bank, and we hope when we go to sleep and wake up, it's still there. Who even knew in America in 2023 that you could wake up one morning and not have access to your bank? So let's put that to the side because we have to talk about that, right?
Okay.
We think that our money is safe. And even just take a step back, what is money? I
Okay.
am a crypto educator, and I'm excited to talk about that, to at least consider the possibility of crypto assets as part of a broader portfolio. But to your point, we can't even get there if we don't have a fundamental appreciation for and feel empowered about the money that we have,
Okay.
right? We want that money actually working. We don't want to trade our time for money, because anytime we trade time for money, it feels like a personal loss, because it is. If I have to put $100 of gas into my car, and I know I'm making $20 an hour, is this tank of gas worth $5 of my, I mean, 5 hours of my time. My life is literally on the line when I am connecting my work and me showing up with the money that I produce. That means that if I'm an employee or even a small business owner, I have a small
Okay.
business side hustle too, Advantage Evans Academy. I have W-2 income right now as a full tenured professor, but I
Oh,
always want to create something that is just mine because employers are fickle and
mhm.
employers actually have an asset because they've created a large a large corporation or their investors. Think of big business owners and investors. They're not trading their time for money. They are creating assets and they are investing in assets that are actually producing income. That's
Okay.
the real flex in terms of wealth accumulation. And so, if we start to think about that and to be an employee or even a small business owner, those are the folks who are usually hired to create wealth for other people. In the
Okay.
new digital economy, which is why I want us to start to consider the possibility of a different form of an asset that actually is taxed as a capital asset. Cryptocurrency is taxed as a capital asset. To your point, there's so much information, so many carnival barkers, so many people who are all crypto all the time or no crypto any of the time. Meanwhile, there are 25% of Black Americans actually own cryptocurrency. This comes from a report from the Black Investor Report from Ariel Schwab. And 68% of them, or excuse me, 23% were excited about investing for the first time. Why? Also, to your point of why we have so much fear in our community, it's because we've experienced so much loss. Think
Yes.
about even going back to the Freedmen's Bank, where
Yes.
the enslaved were freed and needed to bank. What happened to that? It became an epic disaster of fraud and loss under the guise of helping people and protecting people, and that was government led.
Okay.
So let's take, we'll right size the conversation there.
But isn't that, Dr. Tanya, isn't that what we're seeing with crypto? It was sold as a sort of a lifeline to Black communities as a way to build wealth outside of the mainstream financial system that, of course, as you well stated, we simply mistrust. Then you
Mhm.
had the ads, Spike Lee and LeBron James pushing crypto, Jay-Z pushing crypto, and that ecosystem. The industry was really saying, if you don't get in, you're gonna miss out, and many Black folks went for it, and we've been seeing the outright demise of that ecosystem.
Well, I wouldn't call it the demise of the ecosystem, but a major pullback. And I remember, so let's get some facts about crypto as well, because a lot of those commercials, it wasn't just folks who were getting a check, but they also had a vested interest in the business as well. There are a lot of those FTX commercials. You have Tom Brady, Giselle, Larry David, a whole bunch of folks.
I threw
The
the Black
power.
ones out there. She came back with the white ones.
Look, we're gonna
I
right,
see
you're
that. I
right
see
side.
what
You're
you
not
did
gonna
there.
you're not gonna put that on my community. Everybody's trying to get this check out here. Everybody has a hustle. The problem is that people wanted to get rich quickly, but they need, if you want to get rich quick, let me put it this way, you need to get smart quicker. And going back to our original conversation about fear, there was FOMO, fear of missing out. So many people came at the top of the cycle right before what nobody really saw coming. Maybe a few. I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but whatever. But this little thing called the pandemic that actually wiped out stocks. If you took a look at your 401k or your 403b around the same time, there was a major pullback from a macro economic point of view. It wasn't just crypto. Another thing that people have to realize, there are almost 23,000 different types of coins and tokens. 23,000. We talk about Bitcoin, we talk about ETH. They're on the regular, their ticker symbols are on CNBC, Bloomberg, all of the Yahoo Finance. It's a part of not the economic ecosystem, but we have to have enough information in order to make right decisions. Cryptocurrency is one of the few opportunities early on for people to move and get assets at the ground level because most people are afraid, they don't understand, they don't speak the language, and they don't have the language and understanding for the fundamentals of money to even translate into digital wealth. So, what does that mean? That means that all money is a social contract. People thought that that the banks are still backed by gold. That we haven't been on the gold standard for decades. And people just found that out a couple of weeks ago with Silicon Valley Bank, with Signature, with Silvergate, some of the others that are regional banks that are on the chopping block or maybe going into receivership. If we all went to go get our money today, a bunch of people ain't getting their money back. So we have trusted in the quote unquote full faith and credit of this government that is never going to default because they're always going to print more money. What does that translate to? That translates to inflation, near recession, and all sorts of the systemic failures where we're already locked out of so many of the different ways to amass wealth, not income, but wealth. So we need to consider that when we're making decisions about other assets, because it fits into the larger macroeconomics of what's going on in the country and the world.
And Dr. Tanya, you have spoken about how education is key in addressing underrepresentation. In your experience, what educational initiatives are currently most effective? And tell us also what's missing.
Oh, that's a great question. There's a lot that's missing about fundamental principles of evaluating opportunities, about balancing your portfolio. I talk a lot at Advantage Evans Academy, not only about crypto assets and having a very diversified portfolio, Bitcoin, ETH, maybe a few of the other what we call altcoins, but keeping it very tight so that you understand what the purpose is of a coin or a token, if it's connected to a project, who is connected to it, et cetera, et cetera. There are some metrics that I talk about being a prudent crypto investor. It is not, an oxymoron. It really actually can be a thing to prudently invest in crypto as a small part of a larger portfolio. And then taking a look and diversifying holdings. If you have traditional investments like real estate and stocks and bonds, you have to balance out really traditional low growth, slow growth with something that is more aggressive in order to really participate meaningfully in the digital economy, because it's about digital ownership. And part of that is ownership of digital assets.
Hmm. Well, Nakia, let me defer to you.
Okay, I'm all about that dollar and a dream.
Let's go.
Really, someone who has a dollar and a
Mhm.
dream. My 401k, as they say, sometimes I'm a little hip hop, ain't hitting on that much.
True.
you know, my bank account is at that bare minimum, just enough.
Mhm.
I'm surviving.
So your
Mhm.
money is funny.
Extra. I got a little extra to go do some shopping, and the mortgage is paid on time. I can go ahead
Right.
and pay that.
More month of money. I get it. Go
There you
ahead.
go. But when we talk about the investments and the average American or the average Black American,
Mhm.
the person that just made it out of the underserved community, right? Or even still in the underserved community. I hate to even use that word, right?
Understood.
But
Mhm.
some of us that are right there at that baseline, we're the paycheck to paycheck people, right? Or I'm
Right.
speaking for the paycheck to paycheck people.
Mhm.
I like to think that I'm a little bit out of that right now, but guess what? I can go back in any day now, but we're going to be
Mhm.
positive. How much is the lowest? Like, how do you start? Because
Right.
people are talking about investing, and everything like that. What can I come to you with to start without you turning up your nose and saying, get on out of here with that dollar, come back?
Mhm.
Because we
Mhm.
can't get a dream started on that.
Mhm.
What's that amount for people?
Right.
Realistically.
Important. It's important to figure out what you can afford to lose, because there are many risks that you have to manage when you are considering buying cryptocurrency. The great thing about crypto is that there's no person who's going to turn up their nose because it's what we call fully decentralized. The only thing that prevents us from participating and buying Bitcoin, for example, is our education and our fear level. The fact
Right.
that you can open Cash App, I have no affiliation with Cash App. Cash App, holler at your girl. I'm happy to have a conversation. But you can actually open up your Cash App and purchase $5 of Bitcoin.
I
$5.
saw that on there, but I didn't want. I never trusted that. So
Well,
you can
and
come, like, let's just say people are right now. People, let's talk to the people who got a little extra change. I haven't
let's
filed my
go.
taxes yet, but they're about to have a little extra change, you
Yes,
know, from their tax, from their income taxes, right?
yes.
What would you say? Invest $250, $500, $1,000. What can you tell somebody who has just that dollar and a dream and they're trying
Yeah.
to get out? They got a first grader with a with that
Yes.
$1,000 in there right now. How do they help them grow? Because we got to make it realistic for me to buy in, because I have to speak for the person who doesn't have that and does not know that,
Right.
yes, you can start with $250 and it's going to turn into something. How do we take that bare minimum?
Think about it two ways. The first answer to your question, everybody's dollar amount will be different. So I like to
Okay.
talk in percentages more, but let's put a dollar number on it. Not 1,000, especially if it's a check to check scenario.
Okay.
Not 500, not 250, not 100. $10.
Come on with it.
$10. Where
$10.
else can you invest in a capital asset that, and by that I mean it experiences capital gains and capital losses. It's taxed at a lower rate than income is, which is why wealthy people much prefer to have capital assets. Pay me in stock. You can
Okay.
keep your income, pay me in stock, because that stock, particularly if it's going to pay out dividends, generates income. So let's think of it that way. $10 in Cash App or wherever you prefer. There's some, I know people are very concerned about tradition, centralized exchanges. We had
Okay.
this incredible
Uh-oh, did she
Bro,
freeze
I
on us?
just needed. We're gonna $10.
Oh
that's
no.
a whole mess,
Great. You come back on.
right? So the $10 in Cash App, you have Coinbase, you have Kraken, you have Gemini. They're all places. The challenge with exchanges, if they are centralized, they are not banks. They are not FDI insured. If you're going to buy, you have to be able to hold it in a private wallet. I actually have a challenge that's coming up to teach people how to create their wallet, how to vet wallets. There are a lot of different types of wallets. There are a lot of different types of crypto. There are a lot of exchanges, but we can do this. And it's not just that we can do it, we have to. There is
Okay.
a risk to any investment, but there's also a risk of not investing and
That's
getting
right.
left behind again. In the same way we didn't get a lot of real estate when we should have, that was the government's fault. The same way we didn't participate in the stock boom and the internet boom and bust in Silicon Valley, because to your point, you had to know people and have a lot of money. You don't have to know anybody. You just have
Okay.
to get smarter so that you can get wealthier in the new economy.
And so, Professor, you keep saying like Power 96, who always got something to say. He says his mattress is as safe as Fort Knox. But
I know that's
with
right.
that, well, and that's what he says, keeps his money under his mattress. But what would you say is the closest we could come to a foolproof plan for the future?
Mm. A foolproof plan is a prudent plan that has a mix of assets. It cannot just be focused on income. The dollar fluctuates in its value. If you look at how much interest you're earning, if you're earning interest at all in a bank or in a mattress, actually, you probably make more interest in your mattress than in a bank. Let's keep it real. All right. You can have sizable assets in a checking account and make pennies, because what is banking? The whole savings and loans, they're encouraging us to save in a bank. And I have bank accounts. It's not against bank accounts, but let's be clear. When my money is there, they're loaning it back to me and my community or somebody else's community at a spread. And look at the interest rates now. If I'm making a fraction of 1% on a bank account, but my
Mhm.
mortgage is 10, 11, 12, 13, 14%, what's the difference? The difference is what the bank is making. The
Okay.
difference is in a bank that's too big to fail, so they don't have to make good choices because the government is always going to bail them out.
Gotcha.
So we need to be strategic about having, in addition to income, starting a little bit. Don't time the market. It's not trying to time the market. Crypto assets, the crypto market is 24/7, 365. You go to sleep one night at 67,000, you wake up the next day as 23,000 Bitcoin, right? But over time, it has increased. over time. The best time to get into Bitcoin was 2009. The next best time was yesterday. The next best time is today. $5, $10 to start to build incrementally over time.
So if I want to just break that down and just be specific about what exactly, I know nothing is 100%,
Yeah, yeah.
but can we just give an example? Is there something out there that you can give an example that is safe
Hmm. Safer.
or safer? Yes. Yeah.
Safer. I'm also an attorney licensed in 4 states, so I have to
Yep.
speak like a lawyer sometimes as well. The safe bet is to have and I'm just going to go back to diversification. It's not one silver bullet.
Okay.
It's a comprehensive plan. It's being educated and empowered that we actually have to take our power back. And in what will become the new decentralized or more accessible and inclusive economy is where we can be very strategic. When I talk about Bitcoin, it's one asset, for example, that has a hard cap. It's the reason that people say, as more people come in and get excited about it and start to buy, um, there it will become more rare. It's like digital gold is what it's compared to. There are other types of crypto that don't function that way. They might have a purpose, but it's slightly different. Think about something that is rare, and when more people want it, that means that it increases in value. That can be one part of a prudent portfolio.
Okay.
Real estate is always going, there's no more real estate unless there's some volcano that creates a new landmass, right? So real estate has traditionally been a great investment as well. Thinking about stocks, we want to learn the language of finance because things that you can learn about stocks and charting and the language also translates really well into the crypto space. You'll have more confidence if you are more informed. And so the first step that anyone should do after you buy your $5 or $10 in Cash App or wherever you buy it, is figure out what to do next. This isn't the space. We don't have the luxury of time.
Okay.
We don't have the luxury of time.
And Professor Tonya, why? Let me ask you this before we let you go. Why do
Mhm.
banks? Why do they fail? What are some of the signs that could detect that a bank might be in trouble?
That's a really important question, and it's almost impossible for the retail banker to know. So that really falls at the lap and at the feet of our regulators of the banking system and our financial markets. So I feel like regulators were asleep at the wheel because they're what I have now known or come to realize through some of the public accounts are some of the fissures and cracks where banks are over leveraging those assets that are sitting nicely earning next to nothing in our checking account or locked up in some type of CD. They
Mm.
were over leveraged in riskier assets. The same thing they tell us not to do, our banks do, our government does. And so we have to rely and really put pressure both on Congress that empowers agencies and our agencies, our regulators to not be asleep at the wheel. And of course, the people behind the curtain, if they're not making good choices with money and they need to be held to account. So it's one thing to save a bank, but I don't think that we should be saving the CEOs of banks that have made poor decisions with people's money.
Yeah, and what sold you on crypto and Bitcoin and in that ecosystem?
I know you all don't believe me because of the way that I speak. I know you don't believe me, but I'm gonna tell you anyway. I am the most risk adverse person. Maybe second
Yeah, right.
second
I
only
don't
to you
believe it.
two. All right, it's you two, and then it's me. I assure you. I know it's difficult to see. I didn't know anything about this magic internet money back in 2017. And long story short, I had a friend who was involved in a blockchain association, and it was a time when they were looking at the open source software, like what's underneath it, because blockchain really is the next wave. Whatever happens with the different types of digital assets, blockchain assets, which is an electronic way of recording transactions and balances. It's a way of organizing data. That was really interesting to me. So I took a deep dive, learning a lot about the intersection of intellectual property. I'm an intellectual property lawyer, and the disruptive impact of crypto and blockchain on intellectual property. What I quickly learned is in order to really understand blockchain and even its purpose, I had to understand the first use case for it. In the same way that electronic mail, email was the first use case for the internet, It's something that we hardly like at all, but nobody wants to open up an email now. But digital currency is the first use case for the internet. And so I needed to understand that and educate the next wave of lawyers to show up for folks. I fell down a rabbit hole. I realized the power and the potential and the impact if you get in early and and if we're strategic and if we learn. It has changed my life fundamentally. I work because I want to, not because I have to now. I bought a house for my mom. It's paid in full in Philadelphia, in downtown Philadelphia. These are the things that I can move more powerfully in the world. I know it personally. When I had trouble getting a loan, I had other assets. Say, keep your money, I have my own. We need to start thinking like that. If I can go through what I went through with the bank, has held my money for decades, and I have this good job, the equivalent of a good government job, same thing, high credit score, and the hoops that they had me jump through, then there's no hope for anyone who doesn't have the privilege that I have of education and wealth and two parents who loved me and did well in the world. If I can't do it, then what's left for the rest of us? And so that's why I'm so excited about us. At least we've got to get this. We've got to learn, and we got to be strategic and learn while we're earning. It's not learn and then. Like, we don't have time. We don't have the luxury of time.
Wow. Well, I wish we had more time.
Speaking of which,
Professor Tonya Evans, the Penn State Dickinson School of Law, but a futurist, is a futurist
yes. Oh,
economy.
I have one more thing. Stacey. I have a new book out. This is the other way. If you don't do anything
That's
else,
called burying the lead.
let's go. I forgot. I'm here trying to educate. I was like, let's sell this book, girl. Let's sell this book.
Yes.
Digital money demystified. So when so many of the questions that you've asked me, I break down and distill in plain and simple terms. You can go to digitalmoneydemystified.com and pre-order it now. It's really important to show Amazon that a woman like me and our community really cares about this topic, and we want to get smarter quicker. And the best way to do that, if you don't do anything else, is buy that book. Okay. And then let's go and let's grow. So digitalmoneydemystified.com.
Great. Well, Professor, as we sign off, we want you to hold on before you go. We want you to have a couple of words with our producer before we go. And we thank you so much. And of course, Auntie Nakia joining us this morning. Always
no fear.
Appreciative.
No fear.
No fear. I'm going to get my Wheezy Jefferson on.
Come on now. Let's move on up. Let's go.
Thanks so much for joining. Let it be known. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Thanks.